Hey everyone, this is Lisa from TRW. In this video, I'm going to show you a few different things. We are going to be pressing this cute little firework. This is a $5 apron that I got from the Target dollar spot. And so I'm going to show you a couple different techniques in this video. I'm going to be breaking apart a TRW SVG design to make it work for what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a design, take part of it, and I'm also going to show you how to select by color so that you can cut multiple colors of Magic Flock template material at one time. Also, I made a mistake and my tape fell. So I'm also going to show you how to correct an alignment mistake with multiple colors of rhinestones. So hopefully you're all buckled in. There's a lot of learning in this video and a lot of cool tips and tricks. Okay, so I have the Happy 4th of July file open in my software. You will see this again in other videos. I love this file. I think it's one of the best ones we've done. So we're gonna go over here, and so I am going to make this file work for what I need. So I'm gonna go ahead and break a lot of it apart. So I just right-clicked, I'm going to ungroup it. This top part is for all of my HTV. I will not be using HTV for this particular project, so I just selected all of that and deleted it. Now this bottom part has my pre-cut templates, which are useful, but I don't need it right now. So I'm going to select all of this, delete that. And what I am focusing on are these little fireworks down here. So right now, because I ungrouped it, all of this is separate objects. And so I am looking for one little firework to go on my apron. And so I'm gonna go over, and it's gonna go on the pocket. I'm gonna go over and select this little guy right here. And I want it to be less than 6 inches tall. I want it to be about 5.5 inches tall. So you can see this is 5.435, and then this is about 5 inches wide. So that's gonna fit really nicely on my square. So I'm gonna move this over to the side. Going to right click and group it just to keep it safe. So that is the firework we're working with. I just hit this little button up here to see my whole workspace. So I'm going to go right here, delete all of this junk, hit delete. And now I'm just going to readjust my workspace. I don't like when you get this big area going on. This just happens because the original file was large. So I'm going to go ahead and change this back to 12 by 12. I like seeing it that way when I'm working in there. Of course, you can do whatever you like. That's just my preference. All right, so now my firework is going over, for me, it's gonna go over to the right on my apron. I want it to actually go to the left, so I'm literally gonna right click, flip horizontally, and now I'm all set. So if you're familiar with cutting your files, your flock files in Silhouette Studio, you'll know that we need to have a box around this. So I'm gonna go right here and draw my box around my design. So this is how we're going to align our design, and this is how we have all the colors pressed at one time. So typically you'll know that I like to go in here and I like to cut by color. I did get a request to cut multiple templates at one time to save some time. So I'm gonna show you how I would do that. So I'm gonna hold down, select this whole thing, and go over, hit Alt. I'm gonna move this over to the side. So now what I want to do is I want to take this, I'm going to right click, ungroup, and then I'm going to go over to select by color, go by fill, and you can see all of this in there. So you can see it selected all of my black in here and then my group of black over here. So the important part is to make sure one is ungrouped and one is together. I'm going to hold down Shift and click on my black over here. So that deselects all the black over there. So we're gonna go over, delete it. So now all we have are the red and blue. So we're gonna go over, and I'm just gonna repeat this again. I'm gonna make a copy of this design, do Alt. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna select by blue. I'm just gonna hold down Shift, grab these, and then now all of my blue in here is selected, delete. So now all my red is right there. So now I'm gonna repeat the process with this little firework. And so we're gonna go over, right click, ungroup. So we already have red. So we're gonna go over, select by color, select red. So we have all of these here, and then we have these selected here. So we're gonna go over and we're gonna hold down Shift and click on this bottom one. So we have both sets of red selected that we wanna get rid of, and then hit delete. Oh wait, don't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do only shapes on media. So that way I can take this off my media, and so now this is only going to apply to these right here. So let's select red. You can see this one is all gone. So we have our red already selected on both of these, so I can very quickly delete it. Oh, I forgot. Hold that one, delete it. So now we have this. I want to keep just the blue for now, so we're going to go over, do our blue, hold shift, delete that. And what I meant is black. But you get the point. So we have this set up right here, and now we're going to move this out of our workspace as well so that our select by color only applies in there. So let's grab this little guy. We want to ungroup it. And so we want to keep blue. So let's select all of our red, delete. Let's select all of our black, delete. So we have our red, blue, and black, which will be our crystal. So I'm going to select all these, and I'm going to group them just to keep them together. So I'm hitting Control G to group it together. And now we can cut multiple templates at a time if that's what we want. And so you'll notice I never moved the box. I never moved anything in there. And that's important because we need this box to align our design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this on a cutting mat, but I'm only going to cut these first two. Actually, I'll just cut them all together. I'll be bold. So see how this design goes off of my cutting mat? So if we're going to cut something this large, we need to make sure that we don't cut on a mat. So we're going to go over to our page setup. Over on cutting mat, we're going to just hit none. So now you can see our design is all in there. You'll notice, see this red line around the outside? This is our safe cutting space. So we want to nudge this over to make sure it's in our safe cutting space. And you can see that this goes outside the red line on the bottom. Not a huge deal. We just have to tell the software that our cutting area is longer than 12 inches. So we're just going to do a height, and I'm just going to do like 18 inches just to be safe. So now we see all of that in there. I'm just going to take these two and nudge it over. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load my Magic Flock into my machine. I have a preset for Magic Flock in here already. You can see we have all this right here. We're going to go right here and choose Magic Flock. Now I'm going to link below how to cut Magic Flock with your Silhouette CAMEO. I'm going to show you in the link below how to program your own custom cut settings. My biggest piece of advice for this is always make sure you do test cuts. Periodically test it to make sure it's working well, and you should really have no issues. So I'm going to go ahead, flip this over, load in my material, and then we are going to cut all 3 templates. Okay, so here I am at the Cameo. So I'm going to show you how I load my Magic Flock without a cutting mat. So we have our Magic Flock here, and we have our roller set to this arrow right here. If it's over here, that means you've been using it with your cutting mat. You just lift this up, bring it down, and make sure you have it in the locked position, okay? So with Magic Flock, we're just going to take it like we do our other materials. We're going to line our edge up with this line here. And I'm just going to move it just a tiny bit, hold it there, and load. So you want to make sure it's loading in straight. Sometimes when you're cutting with Magic Flock or something else, you may have cut it a little bit crooked over there. So if you load it in and maybe it doesn't touch as well here, that's okay because you want it to load in straight against there. So we're going to go over, I'm just going to make sure I have enough slack or give over there. I'm just going to hit send on my computer, and then we're all set to go. Alright, so my cut is done, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn off my Cameo and move it back. So, this is why we do test cuts. So right here, it may look like nothing cut, but if you kind of move it and hold it a certain way, you can see the indents. So I'm going to find the corner. You can see here's the corner of my square. Go ahead and find that here. And just peel up very quickly. Check it out. So there's my first one. And then here's my second one. Let me just make sure I'm lining them up the right way too. Because this is an abstract thing, I want to make sure I have them lined up correctly. So you can see right here, let me just move this over so you can see it. This is the top. So I'm going to go ahead and take a pen. I'm going to mark this like this, top, just to make it easier on me. And since this is the first color I did, I think this one, if I'm going to refer back to my screen, hold on one second. All right, so if I refer back to my screen, this is also my blue. So I'm going to write it over here. So this is my first, this is the top, and this is blue. All right, so we can see this lines up with that. So this is the top, and this is red. And now peel that up. So you can see all of these holes came back. If you are not getting a result like this, you want to tune in your cut settings a little bit more. Now, of course, it's not a huge deal. If it is cutting through but not coming up, you could smooth down your template on your workstation and lift it up, and that will get some of the holes out as well. I'm just going to set this to the side. All right, so this one is the top. This one's a little bit easier. You can see the tail. And this is going to be in crystal. Right? So I have my 3 templates all made. So now all we have to do is we have to get our chalkboard, our workspace, and then go and brush our stones in. So I'm going to get that and be right back. All right, so here is my first template. You'll notice with some of these colors that there's a lot of space down here. That's because the box is always the same size for each color. So this is accounting for the parts of our design that go further. So you can see red is my first color. That's what I have labeled here. So I'm going to go ahead and pour my red stones on here. Now I very recently did a video where I did 2 colors of rhinestones on a design. You can check it out. I'll have it linked in the video. So I'm going to go fairly quickly through here. So the way that this template material works is that it's raised and rhinestones are slightly pointed. So what happens is when you put a whole bunch of rhinestones, trick is to do more than you think you need. What happens is when you have a bunch, they roll off of each other, and if one is upside down, it'll flip out. Now, if you don't have a whole lot of rhinestones, you don't get the same effect because you're basically kind of just putting pressure down on the stones and brushing them. So what I did is I did my first color, and I'm just cleaning them up right away so I don't make any more messes. And so I use this with my TRW Magic Scoop. Really cool. It's hollow on the inside. And now I can take my rhinestones, gently put it on this board. You don't want it to shake it and knock the stones out. Or just spray them out like I did, whatever. So you can see, now I have to brush my stones again because I made another mess. So we're going to go ahead, get these extras that just sprayed out of here. Because, you know, sometimes I just get too excited and I make messes. So I'm going to go ahead, brush that in there. And I'm just going to pour it in this way since there's not a whole lot. All right. So that is my first color of rhinestone. Let's go ahead, put the lid on because I've already made one mess. And so what we're doing with this is we want to cut a piece of our hot fix transfer tape that's bigger than my design because we use this as a hinge to stack the colors or layer them. So I'm going to cut this big piece right here. So what I'm using is, this is a 12-inch section. So I'm just doing a piece that's wider. So here's our acrylic hot fix tape. Lift that up. And so to get the effect that we need to have a hinge on one side. So I'm going to do one side very close to it. And if you're familiar with working with rhinestones or my videos, you'll know that the next step when you drop this down is you have to commit. If you touch some of the rhinestones and then move it, you may touch it with a different slack, and so it's not going to layer. And when we're doing multiple colors, it's really important. So just drop it, and then I'm going to use my brush to smooth this. And then I'm also going to smooth all the way down here because my tape is going to stay over here throughout the entire design. All right, so we're going to go ahead, lift this up. You'll see our rhinestones come with that. And if you were doing a one color design, you'd basically be done. But I'm going to lift this up, but not take it off all the way. I'm basically going to flip it over and kind of put the tape on the side of my table. So now I'm going to do my next color. So I'm going to do crystal for this one. And remember how I said these boxes are the same size? So you want to take these boxes and stack them right on top of each other. You want to line it up. And so that's the cool thing about the Magic Flock template material is that they can stack like this. So we're going to do this. And this is for the crystal rhinestones that we're working with. So we're going to dump a whole bunch of crystal rhinestones. This also looks really nice if you do it with AB crystal. AB has that special coating in there that really catches the light. But I'm just going to do normal crystal because it's just an apron. So same process, gentle circles, more than you need. You may find that this one may be a little bit tougher than your first color. Part of that is because now you're kind of brushing on top of your Magic Flock material, so there isn't as much of a slip as you may have with your workstation. And if I didn't mention it before, with your workstation, you'll see that I'm using a chalkboard. This is one of those cheap chalkboards from Hobby Lobby. No big deal. What you really ultimately need is a flat workstation. So use that what works best for you. Some people like to use dry erase boards. Some people like cookie sheets. If you see me at trade shows, a lot of times I'll use cookie sheets because they fly easier than these chalkboards. But it's really up to you. I like these chalkboards because they're cheap and I like the contrast of the dark color. But it's really up to you. So we're going to go ahead, and I like to clean up colors after each color. I know, Matt will keep it on there, but I'm just too accident prone. I mean, I've already made one mess in here, so I clean it up each time. So this is something, if you're doing an order of these, it would be cool to do your template, like cut a couple versions of it and stack them on here so you're doing 2 or 3 at one time. All right, so that is our crystal. We're going to go ahead, get our mason jar, and just shake that all out. So that is our crystal rhinestones over there. So let's take this, and then if you remember, my boxes are in the same spot, and so is my tape. So when I go to bring this down, you'll see that it layers perfectly right in there. So we're going to go ahead and smooth that. I'm going to smooth this. All right, so that's our second color. So of course, we want to do red, white, and blue. So we're going to repeat this process. We're going to fold this back. Always make sure you keep this tape attached. And because I have like a, I don't know, waterfall side to my desk, I just attached it to the side of my desk. Now, you can stack your third color on here. I prefer to take off my second template and always keep my bottom one down. And the reason being is I just want to make sure that I'm not stacking up too high with my templates. Because the higher you stack them up, you could start getting a little bit misaligned with your colors if you're doing a lot of colors. So I just like to do too high, and I switch it out. So I'm just doing our third color now, which is cobalt. So cobalt looks good on lighter colors for this. Now, if you are doing red, white, and blue on a black shirt, you may want to use maybe Montana as a color. Montana will look a little bit better on a black shirt. All your other garments will look fine with your cobalt. It's just like black sometimes, it just doesn't work. Just a tip. All right, so you can see I brushed that in. I didn't speed it up. I know I have a high-pitched voice, but I promise you this is going at real speed. And you can kind of see, I don't know if it'll show up well on camera, but like the blue, it just kind of almost gets lost in the black over here. So that's one piece of advice. You want to use Montana if you can, if you're going on a black shirt. All right, so you have that set. Or, side note, Matt likes to use AB Crystal. So, one thing to keep in mind is my tape just flew off the side here. So I'm going to show you how to make it work, because it literally just came off my chalkboard. And sorry about that, my dog is in here. Okay. So this is what we're working with. Now, one cool thing is if you look closely, you can kind of see the fuzzies from my Magic Flock that's stuck on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this down closer because I'm not going to need this extra anymore. So let's trim this down. And just be careful when you're doing this. Don't get it too close to your rhinestones that are down because you'll touch them and pick them up. All right. So I'm going to try to, so the good thing is that this section is all the way down. So I'm going to keep my design as high up as possible to eliminate my likelihood of touching it. And now I'm going to take this, follow that line, I got it, and bring that right down. So you can see we were still able to align it. And so the likelihood of this happening to you is not very high, but if it does, that's how you correct it. And the good thing is that the fuzziness from my magic flock left some residue on my tape, so I was able to use that as a guide to realign it. So there are a couple that seem to not be picking up because they're slightly overlapping. Not a big deal. I'm going to take my finger and just nudge these little ones in here so that they're not overlapping my blue. And it will be such a minimal difference you won't know when you press it. Check it out. So now we have this all set. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Hot Fix transfer tape. I'm going to take this backing and put it right back on here to keep it safe until I'm ready to press. So we have this all set. So I'm going to go make sure my heat press is warmed up and we are going to press. Alright, so I'm over at my heat press. I am using my pink craft press. It is my 9x12. And here is my apron. This is my $5 apron that I got from Target. I put it in my Target haul video. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this and put the pocket right on the plate. Now you want to make sure you don't have anything folding under it. I had this little strappy in here. So I'm going to go right here. And now let's go ahead and put our rhinestone design on there. So I'm going to peel it off the back. And now you can see cute right on top. Alright, so I'm going to put this right on there. And I'm going to use my cover sheet. Because this is I don't really know what this is made of. I think it might be polyester. It's from the Target Dollar Spot. So I'm going to cover this just to keep it safe. And my press is set at 320 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead, close this. And my pressure wasn't very high. So I'm going to turn this clockwise to increase my pressure. Basically, you want your press to fight you a little bit as it closes. And there's my dog. So I'm going to press this for 15 seconds. And actually, I'm going to increase my pressure a little bit more. So we're going to press this and then see if it stays. I actually don't know if it's going to work. Okay, so we're going to lift this up. Rhinestones are a hot or cold peel, so of course I'm going to peel it hot. You can keep this tape, basically as long as it keeps picking up stones, you can keep using it. And now we have that. I'm going to make sure I separate this. Sometimes with objects like this, they'll kind of fuse together, but pretty cute. Okay, so here we are with our apron. I thought it turned out really nice. It's just a subtle little sparkle for the 4th of July. And a bonus, you got to learn a lot of different things that you can correct when they go wrong. And so hopefully you like this video. Hopefully this encourages you that everyone makes mistakes. And the more important part is to know how to correct it and how to make it work. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos. And leave a comment below. Let me know what your favorite part about this video was.